Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a distance problem, two different ways. I'm going to show you how to find distance using the Pythagorean Theorem and then using the distance formula. Okay, you can use either one, you will get the same answer, but I'm going to show you both and then you can decide which one you like the best. Okay, you can use whichever one you feel comfortable using. Okay, we used Pythagorean Theorem last week. We started teaching you that and practicing Pythagorean Theorem last week, so you might be more comfortable with that one, but it's up to you. Okay, so I'm trying to find out how far is it from one point to another point. What is the distance between those two, right? How far from one to the other? So you can connect them if you want. It makes it look more like a triangle, right? Okay, so for Pythagorean Theorem, I need a right triangle. I don't have a triangle, so I have to draw one, okay? So if you remember, Pythagorean Theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so a and b and c are on a triangle, so I have to draw a triangle, okay? It's really easy. You just take your 2 points, and you're just gonna go up or down and across until they connect. So I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna go across until they meet. Just do that until they connect. Now I have a right triangle. Right, like that. So then if my right angle is here, that means this has to be C, and then these sides are A and B. Okay, so I had to draw my own triangle, and then I'm just gonna count. So how much is A? A, you can literally count it right on the graph. A is 1, 2, 3. A is 3. So this is actually 3 squared. Now count B. So B is this leg right here, and I can just count it from my graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is actually 8 squared equals c squared. All right, and then I can just work that out. So I'm solving for c, right? I don't know what c is. C is my distance from A to B. So 3 squared is 9. 8 squared is 64. And c squared. Just gonna add those up. 9 plus 64 gives me 73. So 73 equals c squared, but I don't want c squared, I want c. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the square root of both sides. Now I will have c, and I need a calculator for this. You will need a calculator for that. You're also gonna have to round it because it's gonna be a decimal. In your calculator, you're gonna get some really long decimal, like 8.544, 0, right, a really long decimal. So you're gonna have to round it. The problem will tell you round it to the 10th, nearest 10th place, or the nearest 100th place. Okay, so I will do to the 10th place. So if I wanna round this, right, because this is too long, you're not gonna copy all those numbers out of your calculator. I'm gonna round it to the nearest 10th place. I look next door. There's a 4 next to it. That's less than 5, so this is just gonna stay the same. 8.5 equals C. So I just found out that the distance between the 2 points is 8.5. You can say units, 8.5 units. If it told you feet or inches, you use that, but on a graph it's just units. All right, so that's using Pythagorean Theorem, similar to what you learned last week. So now this week, now we have the distance formula where I don't need a graph. I don't need the graph for the distance formula. All I need are the points, okay? So the distance formula is this. So d for distance equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, that's the distance formula. So what are the x's and the y's? The x's and the y's are in your points. So the x's, remember the x's are always the first number. So that's x1, here's x2, all that means is first and second, the first and second x. Now take the first and second y, so there's the first y, there's the second y. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug those into there. So instead of x2, I'm going to take the second x, plug it in there. Instead of x1, I'm going to take the first x. So here's my x's, and then I plug in my y's. If you want to label those separately, you can. So, okay, A was -3, 1. You can go ahead and label that and say, hey, that's x1 and that's y1. And then you can do the same thing for B. B was 5, 4, so B, this is going to be x2 and y2. So it's just labeling them. That way you don't get mixed up. So now I can just plug those into there and work those out. So distance equals square root. So x2 is 5. 5 minus -3. So watch your negative signs there. And y2 is 4 minus y1. And then work it out. You could actually put that whole thing in your calculator if you know how to do that. So 5 minus a -3 is 8. So it's 8 squared plus 4 minus 1, which is 3. So that's 3 squared. Okay, you should know your square roots. 8 squared is 64, plus 3 squared is 9. You see how it's going to work out to the exact same thing we had over here. So this is the square root of 73, which is the exact same thing we had over here. Put that in my calculator. You get that. 8.5440003. Again, round it to the nearest 10th or to the nearest 100th place. All right. Same thing. Okay, so as long as you don't get your x's and y's mixed up, you can use distance formula or you can use Pythagorean theorem. You will get the exact same thing.